My husband's female bestie is pregnant. She claims my husband is the father of her child. I met my husband when I was 22 and he was 25 and we clicked right away. He was everything I had ever wanted. He took me out on fun date nights, showered me with love, and surprised me with big gifts, always saying I was the one for him. I really believed that, especially since we've been together for 4 years without any major issues until he introduced me to his best friend, Laura, for the sake of privacy. I remember feeling upset when I found out he hadn't mentioned her at all during our relationship. He had been sneaking off to hang out with her at parties while I thought he was working late. At first, I was really hurt and my mind went straight to cheating. But when I looked through their texts, I saw they were just friends, which he let me check. I thought Laura was nice at first, she was polite and even told me how lucky I was for about a week. Then came a gathering for her mom's anniversary and my husband invited me along since her family adored him. I was actually looking forward to it because I wanted to make more female friends and have some fun girls' nights to unwind from my stressful 6-figure job. Just to add, my husband is in an office job that doesn't pay as well, so I take care of all the bills and chores while he's on the hunt for a better job. I walked into the house with my husband and as soon as we arrived, she dashed over to him, all smiles, and wrapped her arms around his arm, pulling him off to the garden. He didn't even bother to check on me after that. So, I headed to the kitchen to grab a drink and ran into Laura's mom. She's such a sweet person. We ended up having a nice chat about our lives and she made me feel really welcome. The whole gathering was pretty chill until dinner rolled around. I took a seat next to my husband and then Laura came up and asked me to move. I was confused and asked why since the only other spot was next to her uncle and mom. I figured she'd want to sit by her mom, right? But Laura just said, because I want to sit next to him. I looked at my husband and he just nodded, telling me to move too, saying I was being childish and making a fuss. At that moment, I could feel my frustration rising. I stood up and told my husband I was uncomfortable and needed to find the bathroom. Laura pointed me in the right direction and I left the table, doing some breathing exercises to calm myself down. While in the bathroom, I texted my brother and he said I was just being jealous and overreacting. I took his advice to heart and went back to the table, choosing to sit next to Laura's mom instead. The whole time, they were just cracking up and it felt like everything he said was a joke to her. She kept rubbing his back, touching his arms, and complimenting him on how strong he looked, all while giving me this smug look. The tipping point came when I put a piece of meat on my plate and she asked, "Are you really going to eat all of that?" I just froze, feeling embarrassed while both she and my husband laughed. Thankfully, her mom stepped in and told her that was out of line and to show some respect to guests, but she brushed it off. Laura is super pretty and fit, so hearing that from her stung a lot. I got up from my chair, walked out the front door, and called my dad, asking him to come pick me up so I could explain everything in the car. Once I was in the car, I broke down and told him everything that happened. He thought I might be overreacting, but agreed that the whole situation was pretty weird. He offered for me to stay with him for a while, and I appreciated that before heading back home. As soon as I got settled, my phone blew up with messages from my husband and Laura. I was horrified when I read them. My husband was saying I ruined the dinner and that he was staying there for the night. Then I saw Laura's message, where she claimed I ruined her evening because of my pick-me behavior. After looking up that term, I just got angrier. When my husband finally came home around 5 p.m., I told him it was disgusting to leave me for another woman's house. He started yelling that I was overreacting again and suggested I needed counseling for my jealousy issues. For about a month, things seemed to be back on track. But my husband started acting more distant and cold, and I could sense that our argument had created a rift in our marriage. Then this morning, I got a message from Laura with a positive pregnancy test and a threat that we should get divorced because the baby is my husband's. I'm feeling lost and just need to vent because I feel terrible and like I've let my marriage down. I'm torn about whether to confront my husband or not. Also, I've been getting a lot of hate and even death threats, so I want to clear up some things. I haven't talked to him yet since he's not home and I'm thinking about calling him, but he hasn't replied to my good morning text since he left for work. My dad runs a company that works with care homes, which is how I make my living. I wasn't making 6 figures at 22, but I'm doing better now at 26. My dad wasn't against me, he was just confused because I was upset and not making much sense, so he thought Laura was just being a bit too much. Laura wasn't at our wedding, and I have my doubts about their so-called childhood friendship. I plan to message her mom to find out how long they've really known each other, and I'll be confronting my husband when he gets home tomorrow. Update. My husband came home around 6 a.m., tossed his keys aside, and went upstairs without a word. I found that pretty rude, so I followed him and said we needed to talk, but he just brushed me off, saying he was tired and needed to sleep, which really frustrated me because I was serious about this. I mentioned to him while we were halfway up the stairs that I was aware of his thing with Laura, and he just looked at me all confused. I laid out my thoughts and explained the text and how it came across, and he ended up laughing right in my face. That really ticked me off because I was done being treated like a doormat, so I pushed past him into our room, grabbed a suitcase from under the bed, and started packing his things. He started yelling at me, throwing out some really nasty comments, but I barely heard most of it since I was crying my eyes out and shoving all his clothes into the suitcase. A lot of it didn't even fit, but he could come pick it up later. One insult that really got to me was when he called me a crazy bitch, and that's when I lost it and fired back with some harsh words of my own. I know I called him a bad husband, but I definitely said it in a way that was weirder. He ended up leaving with the suitcase I packed in a plastic bag after I threatened to involve my dad if he didn't go. After that, I took some advice and told my family everything. My brother didn't care much, but my dad was furious, like, I could almost see steam coming from the phone during our call. I haven't heard from my soon-to-be ex-husband since then, but his response to my question was just so disrespectful, and I couldn't keep it together any longer. I know I probably overreacted and felt bad about it until I texted Laura's mom like I said I would. She didn't get back to me until 11 a.m. And it turns out she only met my husband 2 years ago, probably during all those times he was working overtime. He's still there now, which really ticked me off. I ended up texting Laura something petty, but honestly, I don't regret it at all. I haven't heard back from her yet, so I told her she can have him and that I can't wait for her to experience the same betrayal. She hasn't seen my message or replied. I've saved all the screenshots of our conversation and we're planning to consult a lawyer later. Quick update. My husband reached out, but I ignored him and Laura left me on read. He sent a message saying he's sorry and wants to come home to discuss Laura's message. I'm not sure what he'll say, but I'm going to suggest we meet somewhere else because I don't want him in the house right now. I'm bracing myself for whatever excuses he might come up with. I took some time off work to sort through everything, but I'm dreading the pile of work waiting for me when I get back. Honestly, I'm at a loss for how to handle this. I feel sick and completely defeated. This is probably the lowest I've felt in a while. I'm going to try to stay on top of things, but I can't stop crying and feeling so betrayed. Laura called me early this morning, and I'm not sure why she waited so long. I was just at home, replying to comments and cleaning the kitchen, wallowing in my own misery. I know it sounds sad. She was yelling at me, accusing me of cheating on my husband first and saying my hypocrisy was hilarious. I was shocked because I've never done that, so I asked her what she was talking about. So, it turns out my husband, the guy who's supposed to support me and love me no matter what, spun a huge tale to her. During our fight, he claimed I hit him out of jealousy and tossed his stuff out the window, which is why he left. I had to set the record straight and told her I was the one who kicked him out. He didn't just walk away, and I've never laid a finger on him. I mean, come on, he's 6'1" and I'm only 5'4". She didn't buy my side of the story and said she acted the way she did to teach me a lesson about cheating, insisting my husband is a good guy. She warned me that if I kept it up, someone else would treat him better. But in the end, she decided to cut ties with him. She sent me messages admitting her actions were immature and confessed she only liked him as a friend, claiming she was doing him a favor because of all the terrible things I had done. I honestly thought she was trying to take him for herself. I can't wrap my head around why he would lie about something so serious. After a while, she told her mom the same story he told her, and now her mom has blocked me. I showed her the messages from my husband, and after a lot of back and forth, we agreed to meet up and I should cancel my plans with him. She's feeling torn since I told her the truth about the lies. She also mentioned that my husband told her I was aware of her after seeing us together in a Facebook post. I think she did some digging, and my husband wasn't exactly discreet online. So, she asked him why I was never mentioned, and he claimed it just never came up, which is where the lies probably started. The reason he didn't come home until 5 was that she threatened to send me a picture of her friend's old pregnancy test and pretend it was hers. He couldn't handle being treated that way anymore. Instead of coming home to face me, he went to her place, hoping everything would just blow over by morning. Laura also admitted that he tried to get her to sleep with him, which she turned down and found pretty strange. I guess that made her call me since it raised a red flag for her. She was still on his side but wanted to hear my side before blocking me. I want nothing to do with him, and just thinking about him makes me feel sick. I've never met a man so repulsive. I've never laid a finger on my husband, and these accusations are a slap in the face to those who are truly trapped in abusive situations. I'm at my breaking point and it's all weighing heavily on me. I feel genuinely unwell and have no intention of seeing him again, but I'd like to meet Laura to set the record straight. I doubt anything exciting will happen next, just the usual legal stuff. If something does come up, I probably won't update again since I'm feeling so mentally exhausted. Thanks for all the support, everyone. Thank you for watching this video. For more content like this, subscribe. I post stories like this from across the internet.